Welcome. I'm going to take my glasses off and we're going to do some movements between child's pose and down dog. So starting in child's pose, bottom to my heels, hands stretched out in front of me, forehead to the floor. So nice deep breaths in child's pose, really feeling the expansion at the belly and at the ribs, and as the forehead is making contact with the mat, making the floor. It's a really good way of just letting go of any stress or any anxiety. Child's pose is an amazing position for bringing about joy and facilitating the ability to let go of any worries. So just staying here for a couple more breaths before rising up into tabletop. So rising up into tabletop, I'm going to tuck our toes under, and I like to spread my toes nice and wide as I tuck them under so that I've got contact with all of the toes and the mat. And then just pushing into the feet, feeling the knees lift, and then straightening the legs, trying to draw the heels to the floor and straightening the back into down dog. Just keeping the elbows a little bit soft, not locking the knees out so we're not pushing through the shoulders. So down dog is technically a resting pose. Just taking your gaze over to the right, over to the left, just making sure that the neck is free. And then we're going to drop our knees down, our bottom to our heels, and back into child's pose. And then coming back into tabletop, tucking the toes under again, pushing into the feet, lifting the knees, straightening the legs, taking the heels towards the mat and straightening the back. And then taking the knees to the floor, bottom to the heels, back into child's pose. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhaling into tabletop, tucking the toes, lifting the knees, stretching the legs out into down dog. Taking the knees down, bottom to heels, back to child's pose. Inhale to tabletop, tucking those toes, pushing into the feet, lifting the knees, stretching the legs out into down dog again. And then bringing the knees down, bottom to the heels, back into child's pose. And we're going to continue with the down dogs, but with some slight variations. So inhale into tabletop, tucking the toes into down dog. And then this time starting to pedal through the feet, so lifting and lowering the heels, bending the knees, so keeping moving, keeping the energy flowing. And then we're going to lift our right leg up. So lifting the right leg, and we're not aiming for any particular height here. I like to keep my hips as level as I can and pressing into the left heel. And then bringing that right foot down, pedaling through the feet again, keeping everything moving, the energy flowing. And then lifting the left leg this time, so pressing into the right heel, lifting the left leg again, not going for any particular height. I'm aiming to keep my hips level here. And then bringing that left foot down, pedaling through, keeping everything moving. And then bringing the knees down, bottom to the heels, back into child's pose. And inhaling to come up into our tabletop, tucking the toes under, pushing into the feet, lifting the knees back into our down dog, bending the knees, flexing through the feet and the ankles. This is really good for the arches of the feet. And then we're going to lift the right leg again, pressing into that left heel. And then we're going to draw the right knee in towards the right elbow. And then we're going to send that right leg high again. And then we're going to draw the right knee across the body to the left elbow. And then send that leg all the way high again. Bringing the right foot down, pedaling through the feet again, keeping everything moving. And then we're going to take our knees down, bottom to our heels, to rest in child's pose. Inhaling up into our tabletop, tucking the toes, coming into down dog, flexing those feet, ankles, knees. And then lifting the left leg, pressing into the right heel, and then drawing the left knee towards the left elbow, and then sending that leg high. And then taking the left knee across the body to the right elbow, and then sending that leg high. And then taking the left leg down, again keeping the legs moving. And then bringing the knees down, bottom to heels, to rest in child's pose. Inhaling, coming into our tabletop, tucking our toes under, coming into our down dog, pedaling through our feet, knees, everything moving. And we're going to lift the right leg, and then we're going to bend the knee and bring the knee down and the ankle down onto the mat, sliding the left leg back into pigeon. So we have the option here to stay nice and high. So I like this position because I'm able to drop the shoulders down really open through the chest and through the chin, as well as feeling the stretch into my right glute. Or you might prefer to come down onto your forearms, really sink lower into the hips. Or you might choose to come all the way down into Sleeping Swan and take your forehead to the mat. So I've chosen Sleeping Swan and I'm going to stay here for 2 breaths. Then I'm going to rise up to my forearms for 2 breaths, then back to my hands for 2 breaths, before lifting myself back into Down Dog, but I'll talk you through each stage. So coming up onto my forearms now, gaze forward, breathing here. And then bringing my hands either side at shoulder level here, open at the collarbone, and breathing here. And then tucking the left set of toes, really feeling into the mat, lifting that left leg, and then lifting the right leg back into a Down Dog, pedaling through the feet, keeping everything moving, and then bending the knees, sending the bottom to the heels to rest again in Child's Pose. Inhaling to come up into tabletop, tucking the toes, pressing into the feet, lifting the knees, straightening the legs, taking the heels towards the mat, and then bending the knees. And we're going to take our pigeon to the left. So lifting the left leg, pressing into the right heel, and then bending the knee, taking the knee down to the mat and the ankle, taking the right leg back into our start position for pigeon. And it's the same options here, so keeping it high, coming down onto the forearms, or coming all the way down to the forehead. And what I would say is just observe how easy it is on each side. So one side you might prefer to rest in a different position. I'm going to do the same on forehead, forearms, and then onto my arms. So coming up to my forearms now, gaze forwards. Coming up to my hands, smiling collarbone, really sinking into the hips. Tucking the right set of toes, lifting that right leg, lifting the left leg, coming back into a Down Dog, pedaling those feet, keeping everything moving, the energy flowing. So the idea with yoga is you're not going to be left with an oxygen deficit in the body or a build-up of lactic acid. So you're not going to ache in the way that you would do had you been to the gym. Yoga is about finding balance. Do yoga to achieve yoga, nothing more, nothing less. And then bringing the knees down, bottom to the heels, to finally rest and finish in Child's Pose. When you've rested in child's pose for as long as you want to, sliding the hands either side so they're at shoulder level, just pushing yourself up, bottom to the heels, hands in prayer position, and just taking a bow to yourself. Namaste. So there are plenty of variations that you can do of child's pose, and I'll do another video on that. I love child's pose, it's one of my favourites. So I'll do a separate video with all the different child's pose variations. Namaste.